part of the Press Play Podcast Network.
Welcome back, everybody, to Podcast 616, the official podcast of Earth 616. I'm your host, Damon Royster, and today we are talking about Ant-Man, a.k.a. Enter the Beta Male. Joining me today, I have two wonderful guests who were brave enough and small enough to watch this shrink adventure known as Ant-Man. God, it makes me sleepy just to talk about it. But you know, it doesn't make me sleepy talking about my guests. So our first guest, in alphabetical order by last name, they are LA's hottest screenwriter, and jury's still out if they're a garbage man. It is Ethan August. Ethan, how are you doing today?
Hello, I'm great. I'm going to bring all my beta man energy into this.
Thank you. I'm not saying you are betas, but I'm just saying it would be helpful if you could channel that for this conversation.
I can find it.
Yeah. And also joining us, our second guest, long time coming. This person has asked, I think they're the only person to ever ask to be on this podcast, and I made them wait a full year. So please welcome to your ears, actor, comedian, director, James Dugan.
Hello. Yeah, I think I asked, I think I was asked to come on, then was rejected, then asked to come on, and was told sure. And then a year later, here I am.
And that's just kind of how I run business, James.
I know, Damon. I've been friends with you for a while.
Yeah, and I commend you for that. So, okay, we are beginning our coverage of the Ant-Man movies as we prepare for Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. How are we doing with Ant-Man as a superhero? I'll go, Ethan August. You said something crazy to me one time in a comic book store. You said you liked this. You liked Ant-Man, which is why you're here.
Yeah. Put me on the spot right away.
Oh, absolutely. Can you explain yourself?
I think that the decision to make the movie Ant-Man is funny on its own. It's kind of like where Marvel was like, we got to kick off with Iron Man because of the rights issues. Let's take someone that most people don't care about. And they're like, let's just follow that trend. Let's go to instead of obviously the like huge, powerful heroes, like, what about the guy who, just I am the Honey, I Shrunk the Kids generation. Those are the movies I grew up with. So just give me more of that. But now they're superheroes inside of it. Yes, please.
Okay. We got a Szalinski stan over here. James Dugan, where are you coming at this with Ant-Man? What is your relationship like with Ant-Man?
So like Ethan said, it's a really interesting movie that they made, but also by this time in the kind of Marvel Cinematic Universe, this is who it's like they had to do this one at that point. In terms of the rights, yeah, they didn't have any popular superheroes because Sony owned Spider-Man, 20th Century Fox owned X-Men. Yeah. So by the time they made Ant-Man, they were, I mean, he's an original Avenger, so we can't fault him that much, but he's not like well known for amongst the non-comic reading community.
Really, which is crazy because he's the easiest to explain. He's a man. And then he gets small like an ant.
I was thinking about that when I was watching this movie, that every once in a while there's a superhero whose powers are so specific that the only thing he can fight is the exact same thing as him.
Right.
And that's what Ant-Man is that they had to just make an evil Ant-Man for him to fight against.
True. I mean, I think Doctor Strange would also be in that category as well.
Yeah. Doctor Strange. Flash is another one where you just need another fast guy. Hulk.
Just need different colored Hulk.
Yeah.
I'm surprised there's not like an art piece of like the rainbow, but it's Hulk's. Ethan,
I'm stealing that. I'll get onto that right now.
There's a Green Lantern. There's a Green Lantern one for sure.
Yeah.
We're into DC now.
Please do not take us to DC, especially after the Green Lanterns. Yeah, if I didn't have a Marvel podcast, I wouldn't talk about this movie, and that's how I feel. Full disclosure, James, just so you know, Ethan and I watched this movie together, but it was only to exclude you.
Perfect.
That's all. That was the only reason.
Well, to be fair, I watched it without either of you.
Oh, come on.
I didn't know that. All right. Well, let's get into this. this heist film that I would say is half a heist film, half a generic origin story. So we're in 1989. I'm 1 year old. Apparently,
you were incredible in this scene. Also,
yeah,
Damon.
I can't believe such a decision to open with you just sitting on the corner of that desk at Shield. Like,
yeah, I just kind of take my thumb and put it upside down when I see Michael Douglas.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
James Dugan, talk to me about de-aging CGI. Are you pro or are you against?
I'm against. I'm against de-aging. I think. Well, I'm all for it in Rogue One when they de-aged Princess Leia for the one shot. I was like, fine. But when you try and do a whole scene where characters are interacting with each other and everybody's de-aged, it's just weird to me. And when I watched this scene, I was like, oh, this is the de-aging is actually pretty good in this one. Like, it does look like young Michael Douglas. It doesn't look like an old man wearing a Michael Douglas face like most de-aging does.
Yeah, I would say in the sequel, Ant-Man and the Wasp, we get that. But
yeah,
my thing with this scene, it's like a carnival of freaks because you got Michael Douglas in de-aging makeup. You've got Peggy Carter in de-aging CGI. Peggy Carter in old
Goes the
makeup.
other way around. Yeah.
And John Slattery is just John Slattery. And I'm just like,
but the other guy is de-aged also.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, the weapons. What is he? He's some kind of like...
He's bad. That's all he is.
He scowls.
Yeah, we have to do our due diligence. He works for S.H.I.E.L.D., but that also means he's a Hydra agent, which we get a casual Hydra shout out by. Oh God, we got to talk about Corey Stoltz. Oh my God, I'm not ready to talk about this movie. There is one shining light in this film, and we'll get to it. But I just want to ask Ethan August a question. So, Ethan August, how did you feel that there was already an Ant-Man in the MCU that we just didn't know about? That like Michael Douglas as Hank Pym had a whole Ant-Man and Wasp adventure. Yeah. And now we're getting bootleg Ant-Man with Scott Lang.
I do think it's interesting when you look at kind of, I think some of the structural issues with this movie is that, like James said, it's like Ant-Man is one of the original Avengers and Hank Pym in like the comics world is a huge presence. But especially, this is the movie that came out after Age of Ultron, where they're already like, let's just take away Hank Pym's kind of biggest thing, give that to other characters. Yes. And so then we have a lot of the movie where it's trying to figure out how to still make him a character, even though he's like lost so much of his relevance. It's interesting. I think that like kind of the most recent phase of movies that have opened up all these different secret societies that exist within the Marvel universe kind of like fit this theme of like, look, there was a whole superhero who just was working in the shadows. But I think that it's, I don't know, would you have rather seen a young Hank Pym?
I mean,
and have that be who we're going with?
Maybe if it wasn't Michael Douglas, maybe I would.
Who would you? So Michael Douglas is a big issue for you here.
Huge.
Who would you recast as Hank Pym?
Who would I recast as Hank Pym?
As young Hank Pym or old Hank Pym?
Or let's say it's the same movie, but we've just swapped out. We've lost Michael. And now we have Rick Moranis.
I mean...
Is that just for me? Is that just for me?
That would be great.
That'd just be for a certain subset of millennials who remember Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. Rick Moranis. I was thinking like Harrison Ford, or honestly, give Mark Hamill maybe.
Oh,
that could be cool.
I don't know. I have ideas.
I'm surprised Antonio Banderas hasn't gotten a call from the MCU yet.
Oh, he's too busy in the Shrek universe being a
yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
I want to take us to the only way I can get through any Ant-Man movie, The Shining Light. I feel like we're bearing the lead. Can we talk about Paul Rudd for a second?
I'd prefer not to talk about Paul Rudd on this podcast, if that's all right.
The whole time I was watching Paul Rudd, I was thinking of Rick Moranis. So.
Yeah. I'd love to talk about Ant-Man the movie, but if we could skip the Paul Rudd stuff, that'd be amazing.
This is absolutely hateful, and I hope you stumble on your whatever you walk today.
Before we move on from this cold open, I do want to just point out that this important piece of Hank Pym will have these emotional outbursts. already I'm like, okay, so this is supposed to be another genius in the Marvel universe. And instead of throwing a punch, he slams the guy's face into the desk. It is a moment that sets a tone for a very different movie. And it's fascinating.
Ethan, there are so many non-fighters throwing casual punches in this movie.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Like there's so many people that choose violence that have no reason to choose it in that moment. And he's one of them that in the middle of this, what seems to be some sort of board meeting, breaks somebody's nose, like breaks his coworker's nose. And everyone's just like, hey, man, well, you had it coming. You mentioned his wife.
You
got
were
pimmed.
kind of a dick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's that, or like there's a bunch of characters that just haul off and straight up knock a person out with one punch in this movie.
Yeah, man. San Francisco is a tough city. Just clocking folks left and right. All right. Have we talked about that
I'm settled now.
monster
Please,
enough?
let's talk about Paul Rudd.
That horrible man. Let's talk about a good man. James Dugan, when did you first fall in love with Paul Rudd?
Oh, Anchorman. I think that was it. And I know that he had stuff before that. He was in Clueless, right? Was he in?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah, that's my answer to that question.
Yeah. Okay.
The only answer. Oh,
There is
Really? I feel like Anchorman was the movie where I saw all of these other comedians that I knew, and Paul Rudd was what was like standing toe to toe with them in that movie.
yeah.
I could see that, especially if you watched that Romeo and Juliet movie where maybe you were like, who is this simp? Like,
That's right.
Is he-
Yeah.
Is he Tybalt?
not even.
Wait,
he's
no,
like,
who is?
he's somebody that gets cut if you want to do an abridged version of Romeo and Juliet. It's like,
Nice.
it's a character. I'm like,
He's
oh,
the
yeah.
apothecary's assistant.
It's such a character. I'm like, oh, that's a thing. Okay. I think his name is Paris. I think
Oh, yep. Okay.
the
Who is he? Is he somebody's brother?
I think
He's
Paris
like-
is Juliet's like original love interest, right? Or-
Oh, yeah.
He's like the guy who's supposed to marry her, but then she meets Romeo, and
Man, who would have thought? Just like 10% into our Ant-Man podcast, we're talking Romeo and Juliet.
to be honest,
We're
I
going to
had a
keep this
feeling.
going. We're going to keep this going.
No, we have to go to jail. Paul Rudd. Paul Rudd is in this. Ethan, you remember this name? Who was the guy that he had to fight?
Oh, Peachy?
Peachy.
I
or
think.
Peaches. Something Peach.
Peaches.
Peachy. Yeah.
Peachy. And yeah, we meet Scott Lang, just out of jail. I'm gonna say I think another thing that was hard for me about this movie is that it's so 2015 and like in what I would say. Sorry, we're gonna pivot from Romeo and Juliet to some hard talks about how we treat ex-convicts, but like there's just this attitude of like, oh, you were in jail, you must be, you disgusting criminal, get away from me. And like he's like one of the good ones, and I'm just like, man, okay, second term Obama era. Where we knew right from wrong. It just was a lot of that. I don't know. So, but
I mean, none of the like criminals were, because his whole squad, they were on the outskirts of society, and everybody did, and nobody, like, everybody kind of looked down on them, but they were ultimately the heroes of this movie.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like none of the criminals, even the people in jail, were lovable.
Yeah. But like Judy Greer and Bobby Cannavale were like, get out of our daughter's birthday party, you thief.
Yeah. Did it seem to anybody else like Judy Greer was never on set with anybody else in this movie?
Yeah.
Like that they just couldn't work her schedule out or something. It felt like every shot was just her in it, and then over the shoulder, so it wasn't, you couldn't really tell if it was the other person, and it just always felt like she was reacting to nothing.
Yeah, she's just stepping out of the Archer recording booth really quickly and then right back in.
It's actually so funny because in the last scene when like the big yellow jacket fight is happening, she's like outside of the house and it's only Bobby Cannavale and the daughter in the room. That's interesting.
If you rewatch that last dinner scene also, she's on a different continent than everybody else, I think.
I'm here for the conspiracy theories. But let's keep this thread go. Let's go into the Lang family. I will say I was happy that Judy Greer. I don't know. I feel like I'm stealing this from a podcast I listened to when this movie came out, but it was nice that she wasn't just the best friend the romantic lead. Like she wasn't Evangeline Lilly's best friend. Like, you better stay away from that Ant-Man. He's dangerous. Which is kind of her role in most rom-coms.
He's an ex-con.
Yeah. But instead she was an ex-wife going like, you're an ex-con. Stay away from my daughter.
Taking that degree of separation away is really, really powerful for Greer.
Powerful for Greer. I think we can all agree this is a powerful film for Greer. Bobby Cannavale, once for all, how do you say this man's last name?
Cannavale.
I do Cannavale because it sounds more like a party.
Yeah.
I do. Okay. Cannavale. I do sometimes just say Bobby Carnival.
We can go with that.
That's how I would love to pronounce it.
Let's do it.
So B Carnival is just, he's I think, James, you called him Step Cop.
Yeah.
Very much Step Cop. It's so weird. So I'll be real with my listeners. I did watch Ant-Man and the Wasp before I watched Ant-Man again. And
how did any of it make sense?
You must have been so confused. You're like, why?
What was it like being lost all the way through Ant-Man and the Wasp?
Well, to help that Evangeline Lilly from Lost was in it. Swish.
Was that a joke? What?
There's no room for that here.
James, my whole career,
was it?
My whole career, people have been asking me that question, and I refuse to answer. So I had forgotten how much Bobby Cannavale was so anti-Scott and was so much like, will we say he's the foil to this, or kind of like a second tier villain?
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, he's the domestic threat.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he's the threat at home versus the threat to the world.
Yeah. We'll get to that. We'll get to that. All right. Last member of the family, Ethan August. I know you love the cute kid character in every movie. So how did
it's the only way I see it's my only way into any movie is I am still the child.
Good.
Look,
I think
Cassie Lang, one of the we hit it big. We have a good child actor who's able to hold her own with Paul Rudd. Like all our first meeting with her is I forgive you for all this stuff that Judy and Bobby are bringing into this, and I love ugly things, so I'm a weird kid. We're like, look at this, charming.
So when she gets a little rabbit, she's like, he's so ugly. I'm just gonna say, I'm sad that we're not gonna get any more of this Cassie due to time jumps and recasting.
Yeah, due to the unending march of time.
Yeah, comes for us all.
Yeah, but they've got great chemistry. This kid and Paul Rudd.
Oh yeah. I mean, maybe she should have been the Wasp. That's what I'm gonna say.
She's gonna put a suit on in the new one.
He's
for sure suiting up.
Well, speaking of suits, James Dugan, the time has come for us to talk about Yellow Jacket. Corey Stoltz, James, you are the biggest House of Cards fan I know. So, how did you feel watching season 1 great Corey Stoltz in that very shiny gray suit?
He is devouring the scenery in this movie.
Yeah, 100%.
Like unabashedly playing the meanest, most evil, most like cartoonish villain that Marvel has had. Like I feel like up until this point, Marvel has kind of tried to have realistic villains, or at least like empathetic one or sympathetic ones in some way, like giving them some sort of backstory. He was so over the top and so villainous. Like they should have just put a twirly mustache on him,
but instead they gave him a tiny little sheep,
which he did wear as a mustache at one point. We did get a little bit of that energy.
Yeah. How could we show that our villain is bad? Oh, let's have him kill a sheep and not care.
Well, he killed a person also.
But the sheep, James.
The sheep, James.
He honey, I shrunk a person in the
but the person wasn't bathroom. Cute.
I want to say, okay, before we go on with this, I want to say Wayne Szalinski never killed anybody. Wayne Szalinski never did anything wrong, okay? Nobody he shrunk got squished.
Yeah, freaking he had that big
Yellow Jacket. Yeah. Accidents happened, but everyone survived and everyone made it in time for a giant ass turkey dinner.
What about when you blew up the baby?
I don't watch that. I don't like when they shrink. I go, honey, I shrunk the kids, to honey, we shrunk ourselves. I don't watch the baby.
Do you remember the Honey, I Shrunk the Kids TV show?
I do, with
Yeah.
the guy from Bosom Buddies.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It was, I remember it being sort of decent.
Yeah, it was like, yeah, this should be the continuation. Who was the mom? The mom was someone I know.
Yeah. It was like a kid's X-Files where every episode was like a different like mystery or scientific thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, yeah. All right. I'm just trying to think before we take a break.
Well, Corey Stoll with his like
yeah.
cartoon villain energy, I think actually I would have liked Michael Douglas and Evangeline Lilly to have a little bit of that game, like to go against the affable charm of Paul Rudd. I have to be the like hyper serious cartoon. Like I think that brings it out. And I think you get to set him up right away with being the Pym particles or his, I guess the cross. Does he have a good name for the Yellow Jacket fuel?
does he just call it the cross-pollination?
Yeah,
Probably.
I think that's what it was. Yeah.
Because people love this like insect fucking theme that we're on. Okay, Ethan August, run me through Yellow Jacket's motivations. I just always want us to remind ourselves why the villains are doing what they're doing, because sometimes it's so generic. So what's his master plan?
Yeah, I mean his master plan is I want to be the biggest arms dealer with the smallest little weapons. But so that's his whole thing. That's his whole thing is I want
Iron Man suits are too big.
Yeah, that's my problem with Iron Man. I watched what Stark did and I went, but where's the finesse? I got to figure out something. People hate bees, right? Everyone hates bees.
Man,
but what if we got to weaponize bees?
The fact that he made an animated video presentation of assassination attempts from tiny soldiers.
Yeah.
Like, no one was worried.
I would love to see the note sessions where he's like working with the marketing team and he's like, okay, look, I'm going to need you guys to like one more week. Let's just like fine tune it. I don't think we can tell that they're really killing these people. You know, it's like when the light goes through, it needs to be like death.
Yeah.
Have you? There's some podcast that I listened to once that pointed this out to me, and I can't stop thinking about it whenever I watch a Marvel movie now, which is all of this incredible technology that people are using to just present, to basically do like PowerPoint presentations.
Yep.
And they're old people that are doing it, so they had to learn that technology in order to do it. It's like, that's so unrealistic that somebody be like, yeah, no, I know I've been working this job for 40 years, but I want to do a presentation with the hologram this time. Oh,
yeah.
Will you run me through how the hologram works so that I can really wow the clients this time?
Well, there's an entire like Darren Cross prequel where he takes over Tron to use it as his marketing engine. That's what I always think when I see this one. It's like, it's got Tron vibes.
Is that his name, Darren Cross?
Mm-hmm.
It is. Corey Stoll as Darren Cross.
Good on you, Ethan. I'm proud of you, but I'm ashamed of myself. And the only way I can get over that shame is to take a little break. So we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the thing everybody logged on to this podcast to listen to and talk about, that Bob. So keep it right here. And Podcast 616 will be right back.
Hello, Brooks here with the Books with Brooks monthly book club podcast. Here's how Books with Brooks works. We read one book a month, and then we talk about it. Classics like Stephen King's The Shining, debut novels like We Are the Brennans by Tracy Lang, and tons of other compelling, life-changing stories, one book and 1 month at a time. So come read along with us, and then listen in.
Welcome, everyone, to Podcast 616, the official podcast of Earth 616. I am your host, Damon Royster, and I am inviting you to listen and subscribe to this Marvel Cinematic Universe podcast. On Podcast 616, we gather some of today's greatest comedians, writers, and actors to dive deep into all things Marvel, like comic book history and lore, all the interconnected superhero storylines, and of course, who's hot and who's not in the MCU. Honestly, why aren't you listening right now? You have the power to listen to Podcast 616. And as we always say, with great power comes even greater responsibility. Listen and subscribe to Podcast 616 wherever you get your podcasts.
Hi, my name is Sam Post, owner of Phenomwell CBD Store and PhenomwellCBD.com. That's like phenomenal, phenomwellCBD.com. Tune in where we talk with experts about how the amazing hemp plant can make a difference for people's health and well-being from the Press Play Podcast Network.
And we're back.
I had such a restful break.
Did you have a restful break, James?
I did, yeah.
Good.
I hydrated.
Younger.
Thank you. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Hydrated. You look younger. We all have bob haircuts right now. So, James Dugan, when you're doing makeup and hairstyling, which I know you do, when it comes to superhero films, what leads a person to say, let's get this woman a very severe bob? Just the hair kind of just frames the face.
So this is actually something that I learned just last night because I was talking to I don't know if you do, CJ Tour.
I do.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I did a show with him last night, and I was telling him about how I'm coming on this podcast today. And when I mentioned that Ant-Man was the one, he was like, "Oh, I just recently was doing a lot of reading about Ant-Man because he was trying to figure out what parts of the movie Edgar Wright was responsible for, like after it had gotten taken away from him, and then like what parts the I forget who the director is. Peyton Reed.
Peyton Reed.
That what parts Peyton was responsible for, what parts Edgar was responsible for. And one thing that he said was that one of the big arguments that the studio and Edgar Wright had is that Edgar Wright wanted Hope to be more of a villain in this. So when you watch it through that lens, it's like she's wearing like very straight dark suits. She's got a like tight, severe dark haircut. Like there's a lot of darkness in her when you look at it through that lens. Or that scene, even the scene when she kind of like loses control and the ants start crawling over the lights and everything.
Oh, the most emo moment in the Marvel universe. And they had Hela as a villain, and it's still the like pouty covering the lights with ants. I'm like, ooh, would not have wanted to be here for 13-year-old Hope.
Yeah.
Can you explain to me why that was bad? Because Michael Douglas was like, Hope, no, it's too dark.
That's the thing is I think that there's just some like leftover scenes from her possibly being a villain. And like, that's part of the lead up. Ultimately, it feels like they were trying to maybe lead to that she had been experimenting with like shrink stuff and it had affected her brain chemistry also. But they just never like they axed that storyline. But
also,
there's
let's
a
go
lot
with shrink stuff instead of Pym particles.
Yeah. Hey, you got the shrink stuff?
You got the shrink stuff?
Fill up my tube with shrink stuff.
Okay. That's fascinating. And I think that does make sense because I think that was something when Ethan and I watched it without you, James, we were
again, I watched it without you, so I don't care.
It hurts when he says it, but I'm okay when Damon says it.
I know. That's so weird. Anyway, we were pointing out how like she was kind of like a little bit on the evil side, and maybe we were supposed to like be led to believe she was working with Corey Stoltz the whole time.
Was maybe going to betray. Yeah.
Yeah, because she like voted her dad out of Pym Tech. Man, big ups to anybody who ever had to say the name Pym, because that's what a silly word. Let's backtrack. Let's get to Evangeline Lilly. So Scott Lang gets out of prison. He needs money, and so he decides to team up with his three criminal buddies: Michael Pena, T.I.,
David D.
Das
Malkian.
And so I love a heist movie, but what I cannot stand is the one-upsmanship of heist movies where it's like, oh, we're stealing from Michael Douglas. Ho, 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 I only wanted you to steal from me. Ho, 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 I knew you wanted us to steal from you. And like that, and then it happens later with Corey Stoltz where, he's at the house and they're like, oh, we tricked him. No, I knew you were there. This is everything I wanted. It makes me so mad. So this is where I hate the movie. It's that part.
The thing about this scene is that Scott Lang shows skills that he never shows again in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Like when he makes the fingerprint reader, just using household things, like there's an aptitude that seems like they were really trying to push that never comes back ever again.
Well, James, he does have a master's in electrical engineering, which is one of his first lines in the movie that he references.
So he'll be fine.
So we see that play out in very clearly electrical engineering ways, where he freezes the safe using electrical engineering, where he replicates a fingerprint using electrical
The
engineering.
electrical engineering.
Yes,
yeah.
that would be
And
electrical
then
engineering as well.
he actually meets all those ants who are electrical, and they also have degrees in electrical engineering.
Yeah.
That's how
Yeah,
they're able
crazy
to
ants.
create, conduct electricity. They are the crazy ants. So Michael Douglas, man, what a voice I would hate to have in my head. Hey, Scott, put on the suit.
Who do
Come
you want in your
on.
head? If you put on a helmet
Paul
and there
Rudd.
was Oh, okay.
I just want to hear Paul Rudd.
Yeah.
I'm surprised he didn't come to this podcast recording, honestly. I emailed him at paulrudd@gmail.com.
That's his email.
He
I wonder
just
why he
never
didn't
emailed you
respond.
back, huh?
Yeah.
Maybe it's P Rudd.
Crud.
Right. Yeah,
Right.
and he got the first one. He got into Gmail real early.
Real early. Oh, yeah.
Real early. He's been big since Clueless, of course. Okay, I really want to yada 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 this training thing so we can get to the good stuff. So whatever. Okay, this leads us back to hope because James Dugan, explain to me this logic.
Please.
I'll explain it to you as Michael Douglas.
Okay.
Hey, James, my wife Michelle Pfeiffer died, and so I don't want any other women.
Is this Michael Douglas or is this Jack Nicholson?
No, James. This is Jack. This is Michael Douglas. Don't talk about Jack. Okay, James. My wife, Michelle Pfeiffer, died, and I want my daughter to live. So I found a criminal. Out of all the criminals, I found the one white criminal I wanted to work with. And I'm going to give him my suit. And he's going to steal from me. If he dies, oh well, but at least my daughter will be fine. Does that logic make sense to you? And also,
No.
Did you like that impression?
3 stars.
Okay. 3 out of 3.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. Do you want to know how far the scale goes?
I know.
Look, this whole movie is about scaling. So it's if it's an Ant-Man size, 3 stars is very good.
Yeah, 3 Ant-Man size stars.
The logic here immediately falls apart because I also how does he even know about Scott?
Yeah.
What
Wow.
connection do they have other than is he sitting out at the entrance of San Quentin clocking criminals as they leave the jail?
Well, there is a moment where Hank Pym corrects the burglary versus robbery line that Scott tells to his friends earlier that kind of implies he's being surveyed for a long time.
Yeah.
Which would make sense if he was using the suit, but then he also states that he doesn't use the suit anymore because it took a toll on him.
I think it's just that he uses the ants.
Right.
Ants have
Yeah.
cameras. They've got mics. They've got notepads. They're doing stakeouts. They're sitting on the ledge of the prison just watching him get cut.
But there's also that Michael Douglas, Hank Pym, uses this network of criminals that because the whole thing is Michael Pena tells the story of my person told me that and it goes all the way back to Michael Douglas, and so he's working this criminal network in some way also.
Yeah, that is
how.
Yeah,
He's
has
so
Hank Pym never
horrible.
played a game of telephone? The message would get changed along the way, right? That's
I'm so mad. So anyway, whatever. It unfortunately works, and Scott is now under the tutelage of the Pyms. And God, what are we fucking doing? We go into the training montage. He gets the suit, he accepts it. Again, the logic loses it because Michael Douglas is oh, do this secret heist for me, and your daughter will respect you. What?
Right. Yeah.
also no money is ever discussed.
Never.
It's
Not a dime.
we know that we can exploit you here because you can't get a job as an ex-con. Yet we are never going to say that we will financially take care of you. Instead, it's just this honorable deed will therefore raise your esteem back in society.
That's
Yeah.
such a good point.
Yeah.
He had nothing to gain from it at all.
Yeah.
No.
I'm missing what the movie Ant-Man needs is a hard negotiation scene.
Yeah. Go back to
there's
the boardroom.
There's not even I'll use my connections to
No.
expunge your record or
Get you a
I'll
job or-
anything like that.
They actually made it worse because they snuck him out of jail. And so the whole movie, he's on the run.
Yeah, he's on the run from the only 2 cops in San Francisco, apparently.
Hardworking detectives.
No, bad at their jobs. It needs to be said. They
stumbled on everything. Like they were accidentally in the right place at the right time in the entire movie.
To the point where the final scene was at one of their houses.
Yeah.
Oh, the way to solve a crime is to become deeply entangled in it.
So Scott's on board with this ridiculous plan. We have this unnecessary montage. And this is the thing. I was talking to Ethan about this, and we're going to go into a little bit screenwriter nerd talk. So apologies. But it's a movie podcast. This movie is hard for me because it's kind of an origin story, kind of a heist movie, but like the debate section of a film should happen before Act 2 begins. But the Act 2 of this movie is entirely Scott debating whether or not he should work with Michael Douglas, if he can do the Ant-Man thing. So it's like, I'm just very confused on when the fun and games happen, because the fun and games don't click in until the Falcon shows up. But that,
see, I would say structurally, I would say that the Falcon fight, which we should talk about separately, is like kind of the
on a separate episode.
It should get its own thing. Yeah. Is like the final trial, and that the fun and games is purely the like, look, now you are an ant and you can talk to other ants and you can try to run and jump through ant-sized things. But it's, if you're looking at, if I'm like, James, we're going to watch Ant-Man. What are they talk like, save the cat kind of thing. The fun and game section this is the promise of the poster. So it's like, what do you want to see from an Ant-Man movie? You want to see him just like getting good? Because that's what I think structurally Act 2 kind of is this whole period of him like meeting the ants, learning to use his powers. And it is these montage of them fighting and everything. And it's like, that's, I think, where the movie gets the most underwhelming. Oh, because you also have to pair it with uncomfortably being there for a very strained father-daughter relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
This is kind of the point I was trying to make earlier is that like there's no connection between what Scott's skills are and him being Ant-Man. Like he's an electrical engineer thief who then becomes a like spy, but who becomes not but like a punching spy who has to like learn how to fight and learn to control ants. Whereas maybe if there had been something about like, oh, he's like such a good organizer, or like he's the one that always organizes the heists, or he's like the one that like he has like such will and is like able to like the ants that like it's easy for him to control the ants.
So
that sort
you're
of
saying
thing.
That at the beginning of this movie, if Louise had picked him up from prison and he had been, look, I have a master's in party planning, I'm going to be okay. That this whole movie would have panned out better for you.
I just gotta get back to my wedding planning business.
He's amazing at making availability spreadsheets for heists.
Yeah, but if he was even just the mastermind on the heists that like was putting the pieces together, that would make more sense to me.
Yeah.
I'm going to make an executive decision, and we're going to skip the whole reveal about Hope and her mom. If you want to hear about that, tune in next week for our Ant-Man and the Wasp podcast. We'll talk
Which at
about
this
that.
point, we don't know it's Michelle Pfeiffer.
We don't. And
Who?
they didn't know.
Wait, what?
No, sorry, James. Don't.
At this point, we don't know that Evangeline Lilly is Michelle Pfeiffer.
Right. Which
Or that Paul Rudd is.
Right, yeah.
all of us are Michelle Pfeiffer at the end of the day.
Quick, everybody take your mask off right now.
And while you're doing that, let's fly into the scene with Falcon and Ant-Man. I think this is great. I think this is fun.
This was like,
Bro.
This is what the Marvel movies had become at this point. Is we need cameos, and we need to see more than one superhero in each movie. Like we need to see somebody from somebody else. So it's cool, like that we got a fight between somebody who wasn't really a like top tier Marvel superhero yet in the MCU. We got to see him kind of like bring in the new guy.
Yeah. Talk about enter the beta male. These are two, for my money, two sidekicks fighting each other. But God, it was so fun. And are they on the same side in Civil War? I think they are.
Yes. Because Falcon recruits him. I think this sequence is James, you're totally right with it's the like we need the cameos in the movies, but also this feels the most like, did you pick up the issue of Ant-Man where Falcon shows up?
Right.
Like, it's very comic booky, which is I think part of why I do like the movie Ant-Man is because it has some of the most like pure comic booky vibes of like, let's have a random like, what if we threw these two characters together? Later with the quantum realm stuff, it's going to get very weird and unabashedly weird in a movie that's otherwise like, your dad will like this heist. And I think when Falcon shows up at this point, it also does kind of have that like dopamine reward hit for like, wait, I know that that's the Avengers campus now. And so it kind of rewards you for being along for the ride. And I don't know, it works for me.
That is, Ethan, that's what I love about the MCU more than anything is that it is just like comic books and movies now, which I know is exactly what they were going for and like exactly what they market themselves as. But it's like the cameos, it's the little hints at other stories that are going on, the little like rewards for you putting in the effort and like the dedication to watch all of these. That is, I love it so much.
It's the fact that like you don't call us comic readers, you call us comics collectors. And so there's right, it's like, you have now like enveloped all of these things.
That's beautiful. It's beautiful. Let's see. So fun fight. Don't tell Cap. I think Falcon is in love with Captain America. I'll just say that. And then moving on, that's my own theory. Then where are we? Can we just go to the end? Can we just go to the big science gala?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, because what else are we missing?
Excellent party planning.
Scott came through again.
Scott is so jealous of this party.
Oh, before this, I don't know, a pretty funny scene. Ethan rewound it when we watched it, where like Scott reveals his Ant-Man powers to his 3 criminal friends, and they're so afraid.
What I rewound is specifically, I know that day on the set, it's so when he shows up and he shrinks, the camera starts framed on TI, and I know they had to do multiple takes where they're like, look, it's gonna feel unnatural. You gotta flail as hard as you can. And builds across our 3 sidekicks so that then Michael Pena gets to have his reaction, and it's definitely like a rule of 3 of seeing him, but the camera pan does not work if TI does not make the floppiest fucking movement anybody has in their entire life of just like, whoa, looks like he's outside a car dealership. It's
please go back and watch. It is very funny. But my thing it's just hilarious how they were like, what? He's so tiny.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if I would be that, especially this is a world where Loki invaded New York and Ultron lifted Sokovia up and dropped it to the ground. There were robots flying around, and you're really a tiny man? That's blowing your mind? I
mean, but we haven't seen anything like this before. Up until now, we've pretty much just seen strong people.
Yeah, everything's been big, Damon.
Yeah.
And finally, we get small.
Yeah, something for the little guy.
It's like, there you go. But it's like up until now, everybody's power is just, they're stronger than they're stronger. They can throw things harder than everybody else can.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. The way that they all react, where they're like, I had no idea anything like this was possible.
You get small,
which I think is an argument that the Honey I Shrunk the Kids movies do not exist inside the Marvel universe.
Ooh, wow. Earth 616 never got shrunk.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm trying to think of any evidence to contradict that, and I can't come up with anything.
Ethan, if I go see Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania and they make a Honey I Shrunk the Kids reference, I'm gonna text you and be like, you were wrong. You were absolutely wrong.
Yeah.
I want to be proven wrong.
I mean, literally, his kid is gonna get shrunk, but I'm just saying. Okay. Let's go to this gala. So Corey Stoltz is like, oh my gosh, I have to unveil my new weapon suit. So naturally, I'm going to tell all my friends and have a huge ass party at my lab. So there's a big heist. The team's formed. Evangeline Lilly has gotten over her issues for now.
Her bob is loosening up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we did a little bit wavy. The more she falls for Paul Rudd, which can't blame her. Yeah, James Dugan, what do you think of this heist sequence? Are you pro heist film? I've never asked you this question.
I'm so pro heist movies. I love them. I love movies. I love heists where it's like we have to coordinate and like we got to make sure that this happens so that the lasers go down. And meanwhile, you're uploading our faces into the database so that when the security guard comes around the corner, which we know he'll do at this time, then he sees us and checks the thing and he's like, all right, great. It's you, like I love the tech guy in the other room hacking everything while somebody else is crawling through vents. Like this is just such classic heist movie. Everything about it is just beautiful, pure heist.
Yeah. And a heist is just a party at someone else's expense.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the heist gets heisted by Corey Stoltz. Heist-jacked. Again, we get another one of these things like, Corey's like, do you think I'm an idiot? I knew exactly what you were going to do. And I've trapped you, little Ant-Man. Even did the classic thing.
There's so many people watching Scott Lang's life. Like, Michael Douglas is following him. Darren Cross is following him. The cops are following him. Like everybody is keeping tabs on him at all times.
He just wants to be a good dad to his daughter.
Yeah, and you know what would be really good? Like if you are too seen, the ability to just shrink would be really great.
Damn, the movie makes a lot more sense now.
This is all coming together.
Yeah,
man. Can we boot Ethan from the podcast?
I'm leaving. Yep.
All right, so the heist goes kaput. Trying to get to that big final fight. How do they get the jump on Yellow Jacket again? How does he like lose? Oh, he's just escaping, right?
He throws some enlarging discs.
Yes,
to break out of the capsule. Yeah.
And then a pretty fun sequence. I mean, from Falcon to the end, I'm on board with this movie. Like him, like running on the gun and punching the guy in the face is great.
The little model getting shot up. The little campus.
Yeah. That's great. Michael Pena,
this is like this part feels like such Edgar Wright stuff. The like huge action shrunk down into a smaller scale is like such an Edgar Wright thing that this whole final fight sequence had to have been at least like storyboarded and everything by Edgar Wright. If Peyton Reed shot it, but that it's just got his fingerprints all over it.
Edgar Wright did Scott Pilgrim, correct?
Yeah.
Cool.
Scott Pilgrim, Hot Fuzz, Shaun of the Dead. Yeah.
Oh, then yes, I completely agree with what you said. Let's go to first of all, pour one out for Anthony. Did not make it. One ant died, which I think is man,
pretty good. Pretty good, right?
The body count is low in this movie.
Yeah, pretty low. So Corey Stoltz, sorry, what is his name in this movie?
Darren
Obadiah?
Cross.
Oh,
Darren,
Cross.
I am angry. Oh, Obadiah.
I'm gonna say younger Obadiah. Shout out to Iron Man 1 fans. So Darren Cross.
Can I say? So I've been rewatching all the Marvel movies with my roommates recently, and when we watched Iron Man, my roommate Maya, like towards the end when like Obadiah and Tony Stark are fighting, she goes, "Oh man, I can't believe he has to fight his dad." And I was like, "Hold on,
No.
Tony."
It's like, wait a second.
When he started building this in a cave,
we have to go all the way back to the beginning of this movie if you think that that's his dad.
Otherwise, a lot of the rest of the stuff that follows is going to not make sense to you.
There's a lot more dad
James
stuff.
Slattery?
I believe you mean John Slattery.
John. Oh my gosh.
John Slattery. James Dugan. John Slattery. John Slattery, star of Ant-Man 1, for that one scene. So let's just hop to the end. I know there's a lot of helicopter mishigash or whatever, and also that family's having a barbecue late at night. What the fuck? But
what about the scene when they're in the suitcase? That's falling.
Oh,
inspired.
Right?
What's the song that plays?
Disintegration.
Because also the very natural line, an incredible read. I'm going to disintegrate you.
Yeah. Playing Disintegrate by The Cure.
Darren Cross is not a human being.
No, he's so like from when he reveals that he knows what the heist is onward, he's the most wonderful villain. He's like leans into it so hard.
Yeah, he's having fun.
Yeah.
It's fun to be bad.
Fun to be bad. Well, of course, this goes to, also pickups to that bug zapper moment. That was very fun. Where he's like in the bug zapper and he comes back to life like,
yeah,
I must kill a child.
But they also they got him. He was stuck in the bug zapper. Like he was going to be there for eternity.
But you know what? You know what prevented them from ending it there? Bobby Cannavale. The two worst and only police officers of San Francisco. They arrest Scott, but then Yellowjack comes back, goes after Cassie, and then Scott goes there, and then we get this lovely train fight.
What is the actor that plays his partner's name? It's Wood
Harris.
Wood Harris, yeah.
Julius. I remember
he will never not be Julius to me.
So you remember the Titans?
Truly, I do.
Boom. God.
Was that a joke? I feel like you are like sometimes you're just saying things with a joke rhythm to them.
James, please don't expose the secret to my comedy. I leave people with more questions than laughs. And they're mostly laughing because they're confused. Just let me be. So yeah, Julius from Remember the Titans and Bobby Cannavale, so inept. We get this big fight. Ant-Man wins, but not before slipping into the quantum realm. Ethan August, what is the quantum realm to you? What does it mean to you?
Oh, what it means to me, man. So small that we can't imagine it, and so then it just starts to. We're like looking at the inside of a quark.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the smallest atomic structure. We're looking at really an excuse to be like, we did enough practical stuff here that now we've got some leftover CGI budget, and it's time to. And this is the era of because like two after this is Doctor Strange of like Marvel being like, let's just go like full painterly CGI. Let's go as weird as possible. Let's refract every point of color and light that we can think of. Yeah, I think it's also like the excuse to just kind of have a full, totally incomprehensible space, which is exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. James Dugan, same question. Quantum realm, are you pro?
I'm anti quantum realm, just in that I don't want to go there. That was good.
That I think I can confidently say that was a joke.
Yeah.
Man, thank you. I need these notes. Thank you.
Yeah, it is. It's kind of cool that they did the work to set up the quantum realm so long ago before it really became a thing for Marvel, and that now it seems like it is going to become a very important thing. So I think the quantum realm is pretty cool. I also love the who's the comic book artist? Is it Steve Ditko that does all the like wild trippy that's like what the Doctor Strange stuff was based on?
I don't know. I guess I always think of like the Kirby.
Yeah.
But I think you're right, Ditko, because I just inside baseball, I'm doing a recording of Spider-Man Far From Home, and Mysterio had similar weird things, and they dedicated the movie to an S. Ditko, who I think passed away that year. So I think you're right. Ditko
also,
right to me.
Did anybody see Black Adam? Not to make this a DC podcast.
I did.
I have not yet.
They used the magic in Black Adam was the exact same as the magic in Marvel movies.
Yeah.
Like they didn't even try to make it any different.
Like kind of that sparky yellow whip thing.
Yeah, or like how things just kind of like folded in on themselves, and there's like it's like trippy and multi-dimensional. It was all just the exact same.
Man. Okay, Black Adam. Fair. I was going to say I have never been to the quantum realm, but a realm I often go to is the Fuck, Marry, Kill realm, which is where I would like us to go today. This is our favorite segment of This Week and Every Week. Fuck, Marry, Kill. We will take 3 characters from this film and decide which ones we will fuck, marry, and or kill. On the docket today, we got Scott Lang, Ant-Man himself, Hope Van Dyne, and Bobby Cannavale as Step Cop. I'll go first to give my guests time to ponder their answers. For my kill, I will be killing Hope. which sounds like a terrible sentence to say, but you know
Hope's
what?
already dead, you know?
Hope's been dead for a long time. I hate the Bob. I hate the Tude. I hate that he is so mean to, let's say, someone I'm going to marry. And yeah, I just don't need her, and I don't need her power suits that she never changes out of. I wanted to ask, does she even own sweatpants? Because she just comes home after a long day of work and is just in full business suit.
When she's training him, when she teaches him how to punch.
That's fair. But it wasn't like comfy. That's like serious hardcore workout clothes. I'm talking about like plushy pants. I don't think she knows how to relax, and I can't be around that kind of energy. My fuck will be Step Cop, Bobby Carnival.
Wow.
I mean, I'm just curious. I just want to know. I think it will be terrible, but I just want confirmation. He's a little bit more mask than what I'm used to. If you want to know my real reason for choosing this, but I just want to see what it would be like to be with like a real man. Because I feel like when we're having sex, he would have like a sandwich in one hand, you know, like I just want to see what that's like. That's my fuck. And then
that's how a real man has sex, with a sandwich in one hand. Yeah,
from what I've read. And I'm gonna marry Scott Lang. I'm gonna marry Paul Rudd. Get out of my way. If any of you choose that you're gonna marry Scott Lang, you better be ready to fight, because I will.
Single income household here. Because ex-cons he's not going to get a job.
That's true. And you know what? He's a thief. And you know how I know that? Because he stole my heart. Boom. Are these jokes?
Yeah, that one was a joke. Yeah.
But also a fact.
So, yeah, that one's a joke. I'll mark it down. So we've got 2 jokes so far.
Wow. 2 jokes in 1 hour. That's huge for me. Ethan August, please. Who are your picks?
Yeah, it's easy to just fall right in line with killing Hope. If I went with fuck there, the contempt would kill me. You know, my ego could not survive that. And I don't want to marry someone who just inflicts their wounds on everyone around them constantly.
She does do that.
She tries to ruin Scott Lang's life. And later she's like, I didn't know you had a kid. And it's like, your dad organized him this burglary, sorry. And you call the cops on him anyways. Like, it's just petty shit that I'm not here for.
They used so many cops on Scott Lang also. Like, there was like 10 cop cars pulling up for that. And then also, when he escaped, they sent everyone after him.
This is a dangerous... Wait, it wasn't a violent crime?
Yeah.
He didn't kill anyone? Oh, but he stole.
Empty the station. Everybody call people in. We got to find him.
Which I think... Let's talk about cops getting out of my way. I would marry Paxton, Bobby Cannavale. I think
that's
that UC Paxton. I would make him change his name, and then I would marry him. The protector vibe of the like, this isn't your kid, and you step up. He puts himself in front of Yellow Jacket, you know, for all of his failings as a golden retriever of a cop getting distracted by the loudest noise nearby. He's there for Cassie. And as has been established, Cassie's, you know, number one in my heart here from this movie.
Never said a bad thing about Cassie. Never said a bad thing about Cassie.
And then you fuck Scott Lang. Even if it's just for the curiosity of like, well, because here's the thing. I'm not going to marry Scott because I don't want ants in my house for the rest of my life. Although Damon's going after that too because he's fucking with a sandwich in hand. So there's going to be crumbs in bed, which is going to lead to ants as well. So Damon, who famously does not like ants, is just signing up for them across the board.
Yeah. Sorry to bear the lead. I hate ants. That might be why I hate Ant-Man.
Don't like ants. Don't like Michael Douglas. This movie was not made for you.
Hate heists.
The
slot.
But also I think, you know, you fuck Scott Lang, you see if he's figured out to use his powers in some interesting way. At the very least, it's a memorable time, right? You get the boys have done this where they talk about shrinking and how that could work. But he also, I mean, spoilers for Ant-Man and the Wasp, but pretty soon he's going to learn how to get big. That's exciting.
Yeah.
And then also, maybe he'll work the ants in somehow. I don't know if I want that, but at least it would be
I was going to say, is that a pro or a con?
Well, I at least know that he can use the ants to dim the lights.
Oh,
That's true. James Dugan.
the absolute spookiest way to have sex is with with enough ants
The
crawling
dappled
through the
ant.
lights. Yeah.
Oh yeah, because they just cover the lights.
Yeah.
James Dugan.
Yeah, it's me.
Who are your picks, please?
Okay, so let's see who's left for me. I mean, I guess I have to marry Hope. I think no one's married Hope yet.
Oh, we can have the same answers. You don't have to.
It's not how I play marry, fuck, kill.
You have to
wow.
defend the other positions.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
No,
so
I'm not
you
going to
wanna-
take any. I can't take anybody's husband away at this point. So
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. No, I would say I am going to. All right. Here's my problem with marrying Scott Lang. Of all of these characters, who's the only one with a failed marriage?
Oh,
Wow. Never thought about that. He is divorced.
He is divorced, right?
We gotta get Judy on the call.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so I am going to. I think I'm going to. I'm going to fuck Scott Lang. I'm going to marry Hope, and I'm going to kill Bobby. I'm going to marry Hope for the financial stability and nothing else. I think that I think I can silo off my feelings enough to avoid any of her damage.
with some of that money, you'll have just an extremely long dining room table.
Yeah, it will not be a happy marriage, for sure.
I mean, oh yeah, you can count on that. Any idea how you would kill the greatest cop San Francisco has ever known?
Yeah, I think all I got to do is like jingle keys near a cliff, and he might walk right off of it.
Hey, what's that? I got to work on my Bobby Carnival.
I know that van.
There's so many. There's like 3 in a row of those two cops being like, "What? Well, let's go over there." Just like a band thing that they're doing right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, when they had like
Mid arrest.
and
Right.
Dave,
Yeah.
Dave,
Well,
they were
also,
like
why
on the
were they
They weren't
arresting Hank Pym?
Why were they arrested? Well, for that table slam in the beginning. We heard in 1989 you broke someone's nose. There's been a warrant out for you for decades.
It's like because they stopped him from going into the science gala, but why?
I think because Corey or Darren Cross was like, he owns the cops or something. I think he was like, he's doing something to ruin my Yellow Jacket presentation.
No, he wanted him in.
He invited him. He did. I want you
Yeah.
to be there because his real motivation was daddy issues the whole time.
That's true. And you know what, guys? I do have to run, and I'm not going to stand here and defend Ant-Man to you. So I think
You come back here. Damon, you come back here right now and you tell me why Ant-Man is great.
I have to talk about Spider-Man after this. We're going to leave those questions out there. This is a film, much like my comedy, leaving you with more questions than joy. Thank you both so much for being on this podcast. Ethan, August, where can people find you on the internet or in life or anything to promote?
Wow, you just like hit me up. You can often find me at Secret Headquarters in Silver Lake, the comic shop. I am a ghost otherwise. A little throw forward to Ant-Man and the Wasp. I barely exist on the internet anymore. If you want to look at the 7 Instagram posts I made the year it came out at _Van August. But otherwise, yeah, just like shout my name real loud and let's see if that works.
Truly. James Dugan, where can we find you?
You can catch me at Dugan It Right on Instagram. If you enjoy pictures of clouds and you enjoy pictures of whatever I'm currently looking at and drinking, you're going to love my Instagram. I play in Clued In at Second City on Saturdays. I play in Hitch Cocktails Annoyance on Friday nights. Come check those shows out.
Those shows will be in Chicago, Illinois.
Chicago, yes. You can't catch me in LA. You'll never catch me in LA.
Okay, don't worry, folks. We'll work on that. This is Podcast 616. You can follow us on Instagram at Podcast 616P3. That P3 stands for Press Play Productions, the podcast network that allowed me to do this. Those fools. You can find me, Damon Royster, on Instagram at Dayman Royster. Also follow Chilex Comedy, The Illuminati Hour, and just go to my page. You'll see it all there. Producer Michael, if you want to hop on the podcast real quick, what letter grade would you give this podcast episode?
So for the sake of this review and for this movie, I got to give you guys the teeniest, tiniest A.
Yeah. Very
Smallest
small.
day we've ever gotten. Man. Michael, thank you, Michael. Thank you, Ethan. Thank you, James. Thank you, Paul Rudd. You are the only thing keeping this franchise alive for me. Prud.
Prud at Gmail. Email him.
Yeah,
Email
let him
him.
know. Let him know what you thought of the movie.
Don't be a Hank Pym coward. Email him. All right. That is it for this podcast. We'll see you next week with more Ant-Man coverage. Quantum Mania is coming out the 17th of February. I'll be watching. Hopefully you will as well. So until next time, don't forget that with great power comes even greater responsibility.